When you think of tarot cards, what comes to mind? A fortune teller at a carnival sitting behind a crystal ball? Some believe that tarot cards are nonsense or tools for the occult, but they've seen a rise in popularity over the past few years. Christian Dior's creative director used imagery from the cards in her collections. Magazines like Vogue have released how-to tarot guides for beginners, and sales are increasing for this specific deck of cards. Krans, the artist and creator of the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, joins us to explain the origins and modern-day applications of these cards. Good morning.
Good morning, Deborah. Thanks for having me.
All right. You have a master's degree in depth psychology. What is depth psychology? Because there's a connection to what you're dealing with these tarot cards.
There is. Depth psychology is known as Jungian psychology. So it's Carl Jung's perspective on psychology. And he was very interested in a lot of the themes that are woven into tarot cards, such as archetypes, and also in my new alchemy deck, the planets and our relationship to the planets and different elemental forces of the world. So you could say that in depth psychology, there's this idea of synchronicity, like a certain image coming up or appearing that has a kind of message or intelligence behind it. So the cards are a really good way of thinking about synchronicity in images, a kind of mystical reminder that might appear and help to guide us on our way.
Yeah, and tapping into that subconscious. And one area where I think it's a little bit more tangible for people is, for example, their dreams and the images that they have in their dreams.
Exactly. So you could say that the cards, whether it's the tarot deck or the animal spirit deck I see you have there, or the alchemy deck, it is a very dreamlike state that you're going into, and just pulling a card can sort of connect us to those types of aspects of our lives that we might have forgotten about or wonder about or want to know more about.
Go into the history of these cards and how much of is it, like, we always look at it as, oh my gosh, you're going to walk out the door and die, or things like that. And some of that's kind of probably over dramatic, has been misinterpreted. But what's the history of the cards and what was the original meaning for them?
Well, one sort of hang up with the tarot is they get taken very, very literally. So the first time my mom pulled a death card from the deck and she called me, "Should I leave the house today?" And I was like, no, let's think of these very metaphorically, because that's the origin of the deck. Really is originally it was a playing card deck in medieval Europe, likely in Italy, and eventually people started to use the images of the cards and the concepts of the cards to sort of make story and to help each other with the sort of mythic story of their life. So one thing led to another, and soon the tarot became a defined 78 card deck that has specific concepts and specific images that represent sort of big themes of people's lives, very universal and timeless themes.
Yeah, well, just like with dreams, if you do it right, it forces you to ask yourself questions. Oftentimes in dreams, people will see death, but it doesn't necessarily mean the death of that person. It may be the death of something that you've been dealing with is now over.
Exactly. There's so many transitions that we have to move through in our life and be able to move on to the birth of the new thing. And that requires a certain amount of letting go and trust. So the cards can really become a way to remind us and inspire us to move through our life sort of mythically and mystically. And I think that's why they've gained so much popularity. It's less about a form of witchcraft and more now about a kind of reawakening of imagination and metaphor and inspiration, creative inspiration in our lives.
Yeah, and how you can apply that to your life. All right, do a basic reading for us, because if I got a box of cards, I don't know what I would do with it. I have no idea. So tell us what happens when we get a box of your cards, how we start.
Okay, so you have a bunch of decks there. It's very inspiring. The latest deck that I've created is the alchemy deck, which is the one that I have in front of me. And the most popular way that a newcomer to the tarot or any oracle cards might use the cards is to do a card a day, or a single pull, they might call it. So you would just shuffle the card in the morning, or maybe before your meditation, or before you're doing a journaling practice, or whatever you're up to. And you'd shuffle the cards and just simply ask, like, what is a what is a helpful image, or what is a card that I would need to see today to remind me of today.
Okay.
And the card that I pulled this morning, so you'd ask that question and then just simply shuffle until you feel like you're at a good stopping point. And the card that I pulled this morning from the alchemy deck is this golden rose, which is a very beautiful card. And I'm a visual artist, so I create the artwork for all of these decks. That's my inspiration
They're
for
very
creating.
pretty. Okay, you got the
Thanks.
golden rose. I got
The golden
two
rose.
roses and some wine, which is appropriate on the wine glasses, I think. I don't know.
Oh, great. So you're using the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. So that's the Two of Cups. So that's a very, very romantic card. It's really very sweet. You might want to go out on some kind of date or something like that. And then the golden rose alludes to a kind of well-kept secret or gift that's awaiting at the center of the rose to slowly unfold. So it reminds us to be patient and to kind of stay with this idea that there's something waiting for us inside ourselves, perhaps.
So it's almost like you're doing a little bit of self-therapy, if you will. If you really have a conversation with yourself about what these mean. And by the way, you do have like a guide that kind of shares what those cards' basic meanings are.
Right. Each deck comes with a very thorough guidebook that I work on, as much as I can to give people a sort of leading direction, but ultimately it's up to them to interpret the cards as they see fit. And hopefully the image conjures up their own kind of memories or free associations to lead them on their way.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for kind of opening the door for us. I know a lot of people have just misconceptions about it, but just giving us a place to go. Goodness. And by the way, it just came true. There's a rose and a glass and a bottle of champagne here. I don't know how that happened, but it came true.
Synchronicity.
Now all I need is that man to show up and we're all good. But no, thank you so much, because I in the world today, we could use a little bit of peace, and that peace actually starts with us talking to ourselves honestly.
Exactly. Keep me posted on if the man appears.
Okay. All right. We'll call my husband later. Okay. For more information on Kim Krans, or maybe some other guy, or her Wild Unknown Tarot decks, visit greatdayhouston.com.